Hi, this is Greg, and in today's lesson I'm going to be explaining why you will never improve your English pronunciation. Never. Hi! Don't worry, of course you will improve your English pronunciation, but you won't if you don't do the 8 things that I'm going to teach you in today's lesson. The thing is that most people don't do the 8 things that I'm going to tell you in this lesson, and if you don't follow my advice, yeah, the truth is that you probably won't improve your pronunciation in English. Listen, I've been where you are. I studied French for 8 years before I went to university to study French. After 2 years there, I went to live in France, and when I moved to France, I spoke French and I had the same problems that most of my English students have. I spoke and everybody said, could you repeat that? What was that word? What? And as a result, I felt quite inferior, quite shy, a bit embarrassed of my French accent and my French pronunciation. Now, the problem was that for 10 years before I moved to France, I had been focusing on crazy grammar rules, like the preceding direct object, blah, conjugating all the verbs in all the tenses, blah, and crazy spellings of words with hundreds of silent letters, blah. And this is all not fun stuff. One thing I never really studied before I went to France was French pronunciation. It seems quite a basic thing, right? But I never really learned how to speak the language using advanced pronunciation that would help people understand me. And I'm talking about things like the difference between coup and cul, or the difference between son and sang. Yes, these were real examples of mistakes that I made when I was living in France. You see, because I'd never really learned French pronunciation, the result was me living in France, speaking French with English sounds. Speaking French with English sounds. It doesn't work. Trust me. And it doesn't work when you try to speak English using only the sounds from your language. The result is that people don't understand you clearly. People ask you to repeat yourself. You feel inferior when you're speaking to people with a native pronunciation. And none of that is good. So, what do I want you to do? I want you to do these 8 things that I have done and that I have helped my students to do, which will help you improve your pronunciation in English. So let's go. Number 1, you will never improve your pronunciation in English unless you learn new sounds in English that don't exist in your language. I mean, for example, there are 20 vowel sounds in English. Are there 20 vowel sounds in your language? If not, you're going to need to learn some in English, because if you don't, you're pronouncing words incorrectly, and that can prevent you from being clearly understood. One very common example of this is the English H sound. Let's use this expression as an example. Now, because French speakers don't pronounce the H at the beginning of words, many French speakers say, how are you? How are you? They just delete the H because in French, it doesn't exist. Spanish speakers have difficulties saying so. Instead of saying, how are you? They use the nearest thing, which is how are you? How are you? Both are incorrect. The problem with both examples there is that you are not learning the sounds that exist in English but don't exist in your language. And that It's the number one thing that you need to do if you want to speak with a clear pronunciation in English. This should be obvious, and I'm not sure why more students don't do it. If you're speaking a different language, you have to learn the sounds of that language. Some more common examples are the English R, like the word red. It's not a difficult word, you probably learnt it when you were 5 years old. But we have the English R sound here, but instead of saying red with the R of English, if you use the R sound in your language, it's just not clear if you say red or red. So please, spend some time in learning the sounds of English. Okay, number 2, you will never improve your English pronunciation unless you practice these sounds. So yes, it's okay to learn these sounds, but these new sounds often require your mouth muscles and your tongue and your lips to do things or to do a combination of things which is not natural for you. It's not natural because they don't exist in your language. What do you do if something is not natural? Well, you practice. Actually, physically practice making these sounds so that they become natural to you. So that when you're speaking English in natural conversation, these sounds are easy to make. So don't worry and don't feel bad. It's okay to walk down the street or wait for the bus doing this. Red robin, red rose. Don't feel bad. It's the only way. You're using different muscles and you need to train and educate those muscles so that they perform these sounds naturally. Okay, the next one. You will never improve your pronunciation unless you group words together based on their sounds. What do I mean with this? Well, when you're learning English vocabulary, it's sometimes very common to learn, for example, objects in the office. Table, chair, window, door, pen, wall, blah, blah, blah. You might also, if you're a little bit more advanced, learn some phrasal verbs that use the word take. Take up, take down, take away. But one thing that many people don't do is group words together based on the sound that they use. For example, the past of buy is bought with this or sound. The past of teach is taught, again with the long or sound. The past of bring is brought, again with the long or sound. You can group those together, even though they're not spelt exactly the same. Group them together and group them with daughter and door and for and more. Group those words together because they all have the or sound in the middle. And if you start learning words like this, it will really help you remember the correct pronunciation of those words, and it will help you pronounce them more accurately when you're speaking English. Okay, number 4. You will never improve your pronunciation of English unless you start recording yourself in English. So this is something that I always encourage my pronunciation students to do, and that is to physically record themselves on any mobile phone app. There are hundreds which help you record your voice. Record yourself and then listen to yourself. Why? Well, let me ask you a question. Do you know anybody who thinks that they sing brilliantly? That they think that they have the voice of an angel, but really they cannot sing at all? They're terrible. A similar thing happens with English. I have spoken to many people who say, yeah, when I'm speaking, in my mind, I'm pronouncing things perfectly. But if you listen to yourself, you will realize that perhaps your pronunciation is not as good as you are hearing it in your head. But the most important thing is that when you listen to yourself, you can actually correct yourself. because maybe when you're speaking, you are subconsciously affected by the spelling of the word. Listen, find a short text, read it, record yourself reading it, and then listen to your recording and try to correct your own pronunciation of English. Try to focus on the sounds you are mispronouncing and then try to make changes to improve your pronunciation. Record it again, listen to it again. See the improvement? Great. I'm sure there are still corrections to be made, so make the changes, practice the changes, and record again. This is a really effective technique and one that you can easily do at home. Okay, number 5. You will never improve your pronunciation unless you stop being obsessed with silent letters. Come on, everybody knows that English is not a phonetic language. In other words, we don't pronounce every letter in each word. Now, you know that there are hundreds of silent letters, thousands, millions in the English language. And listen, I say this so often to my pronunciation students, silent means silent. Forget it. It doesn't exist in the spoken language. Phonetically, it's not there. We write it, yeah, but are we writing English now? No. We're speaking, and if you're speaking, then we don't need that letter. It's irrelevant, it's not there, forget it, it's gone. And why do you do it anyway? Look at this word. Has anybody told you that the GH is silent? If they have, then forget it for the rest of your life. This word has 4 sounds, d, or, t, daughter. The GH is silent, the R at the end is silent, and the AU at the beginning is pronounced or, like door, or thought, or bought. Listen, when you're learning new words, just focus on the phonetics. Go to an online dictionary and look for the phonetic transcription of the word. The phonetic transcription is like a secret code that you can use. Because if you pronounce all the sounds of the phonetic transcription, every native speaker will understand you perfectly, all the time. If you are scared of the phonetic alphabet, then watch that video up there. It's not scary at all. So, stop being obsessed with letters and silent letters and start being obsessed with phonetics. Okay, number 6. You will never improve your English pronunciation unless you give importance to stressed syllables. So, put simply, every word in the English language has one stressed syllable. But if you stress the wrong syllable, it becomes extremely difficult to understand what you're saying. This is a topic of pronunciation that not many people teach, and certainly a topic of pronunciation that not many students give importance to. But I have seen it when I've been teaching English, when I've been in social situations with foreigners speaking English. I've seen the effects. This happened when I went for a coffee with a Spanish friend in America and he ordered a decaf. The waitress had no idea what he was talking about until I eventually interrupted and said he means decaf, not decaf. And then she understood. More recently, with some of my pronunciation students, I have heard people say these examples and I haven't understood them simply because they stressed the wrong syllable. Artificial, surrealist, event, devastating. These are all real examples that I've heard this past month, and they've been really, really difficult to understand, even in context. The corrections are artificial, surrealist, and devastating. If you want to be understood clearly by native speakers and want to speak with a clear and accurate pronunciation, you need to start focusing on which syllable is the stressed syllable. So when you're learning a new word, make sure you pay attention to that so that when you're using the word in spoken English, you know which syllable to stress and emphasize, and that way you will be much more clearly understood. Number 7 is quite similar. You will never improve your English pronunciation unless you start giving importance to sentence stress. So in the last point, I said that it's important to focus on which syllable we need to stress. This time I'm talking about which word within a sentence we have to stress. And this is also really, really important if you want to express yourself clearly in English. English is a stress language, and where we put the stress in the sentence, which word we stress, can really actually change the meaning of a whole sentence. So it's time to learn and time to focus on which word we have to stress in sentences. Now this is quite a complicated topic, but one of the most simplistic explanations I can give you is just to focus on the most important thing in the sentence and stress that. This is one thing that I deal with in quite some depth in my pronunciation course. As a general rule, stress the most important thing in a sentence. So with this expression, if we stress the word white, white is not the most important thing in this sentence, and if we stress that word, the whole sentence becomes a little bit difficult to understand. I've lost the black and white photo. Sorry, what? However, if we stress the word photo, which is the most important thing of this sentence, I've lost something. What have you lost? The photo. Okay, the photo. I'm looking for a photo. Brilliant. That's the most important thing. That's what we stress. Now listen. I've lost the black and white photo. I've lost the black and white photo. Photo. If we do that, it is much clearer and much more easy to understand. Okay, and finally, number 8, you will never improve your English pronunciation unless you consider learning with a pronunciation expert or a teacher who focuses on pronunciation. Because native speakers and probably all teachers can say, yes, that is pronounced correctly, or no, that is not pronounced correctly. However, if you start working with a pronunciation coach, or if you choose a teacher who actually specializes in pronunciation, they can explain these things. They can explain why the words you are using are not being clearly understood. They can tell you which areas of pronunciation you need to focus on, which specific sounds, which techniques you can use to help you sound more natural and more fluent. And they can teach you exactly what you need to do with your mouth, lips, and tongue in order to pronounce the sounds correctly, the sounds that exist in English but don't exist in your language. So pronunciation teachers will help you identify those areas so you know what to work on, so you can make a real noticeable improvement to your English pronunciation. Okay, now I want to hear from you. I have 2 questions for you which I want you to answer for me in the comments below. Today I have taught you 8 things that you should do if you want to improve your pronunciation. Question number 1, which of these 8 things do you currently do? And number 2, which of these techniques are you going to start doing in order to improve your English pronunciation? Let me know in the comments, and please remember, don't worry. It's never too late to make changes, to change the way you learn English, to change your mindset and start focusing on the right things that will make a real noticeable and quick improvement to your spoken English. I've been teaching pronunciation to students who have been learning English for 10 or 20 years, and I've seen how by helping them make the correct changes and start focusing on the right things and the right areas of English pronunciation, change is very, very possible and easy to make. So good luck. Let me know your answer in the comments. Subscribe to this channel for a new video every Friday, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye for now.